podcast amplifies the needs and experiences of Black women leaders in the workplace with a holistic focus on three core areas: leadership development, mental wellness, and relationship management. Our ultimate aim is to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity.
Hey y'all, welcome to the last episode of season 8 of the Black Woman Leading podcast. We have made it to the end of the season, y'all. And this season, we really zoomed into our theme, leaning into joy. So many good conversations with so many good people. And what I want to do in this episode is share some of my insights and takeaways and kind of key light bulbs from this season and a bit of a recap. But before we begin that in this episode, I want to take a moment to honor someone who touched this season in a really profound way. Dr. Cree Scott, a clinical psychologist, workplace performance expert, and founder of Serenity Psy Consulting, joined us for episode 21 to share her framework for reclaiming connection and purpose in leadership. And it was based on her book, The Missing Piece, P-E-A-C-E, which released on April 14th. Dr. Cree and I met about 4 years ago on LinkedIn. It was just kind of like a random connection. I saw what she was doing. She saw what I was doing. We met in the DMs, talked a little bit, and ended up doing an intro call. At the time, she was just launching her consulting firm and was really just looking for some insights, some encouragement, some inspiration. I had been in business for a couple of years at that time. And so I was able to just offer whatever I could to her. And I remember her just being so grateful that I wasn't quote unquote gatekeeping and sharing that with her. And she said that again over the years. I remember you were so generous when we first talked. So ever since then, we would, keep in touch, cheer people on. I would see her doing amazing work in organizations, writing articles, doing collaborative stuff with other professionals. And she was just really doing her thing. So when we finally got to meet for an in-studio episode in person, there was hugs, there was, oh girl, we got to do lunch. I'm so glad to finally see you like in the flesh, because all of our correspondence up to that day had been virtual, Zoom calls, checking in. It was so good to connect with her. She recorded with us in November, and she passed away in December, just a month later. We did not know when we aired her episode in March that she had passed. She actually requested that we hold out to sharing the episode to like end of March, so that it was closer to her book release, which we were talking about on the episode. And so, that had already been scheduled. We had sent her the cover photos, but we hadn't heard anything. And it was only after about 3 weeks after that episode launched that I found out through a post on LinkedIn that she was no longer with us. And she actually had been gone for about 3 months. So I just want to honor her here. I just want to send some love and affirmation and just prayers to her family, to her husband, to her child. But I want to honor her here because her message really belongs in this recap in this season. She talked about connection and how a lot of people were isolated in these workplaces. And that was a lot of the work she was doing. And that connection wasn't just about our social and emotional needs as a human first, but it also impacted the work that we're doing. And so I just want to honor her. She was a tremendous woman, a beautiful spirit. And every interaction I had with her was filled with such kindness and grace. Her work, the idea that connection to self, connection to others, and then connection to something greater was the missing piece in leadership. And I love that the title of her book, The Missing Piece, was spelled P-E-A-C-E, right? It's exactly what this season was about. And she really inspired me. And, our hearts were just broken to know she's not with us. But so grateful to have experienced her and her contribution on this earth. So Dr. Cree, we thank you. This episode is dedicated to your legacy. All right. So let's transition a bit and talk about, what we have going on in the season 8 recap. We made it, 28 episodes, one powerful theme and more wisdom than I could ever have anticipated. when we sat down to plan out this season. And as I mentioned, season 8 was anchored in a theme that I believe chose us as much as we chose it, leaning into joy. It is a particular time happening right now in the country, in the workplace. And so we have to be vigilant, y'all, about holding on to our joy, because every time you turn on the TV, social media is something that is trying to claim it, right? And so over the course of these episodes, we have explored what that really means. Not joy as a performance, not joy as like toxic positivity, acting like ain't nothing wrong when it really is stuff wrong, but joy as a practice, a strategy, a form of resistance, a reclamation, a way of leading. That's what we was on some revolutionary type of stuff with reclaiming, fighting for, extracting, amplifying our joy. And so today I want to reflect with you on what we talked about this season. If you didn't catch all the episodes, of course you can go back, but I wanted to highlight some common themes that I saw throughout that really resonated with me. I want to also share a few of my own light bulb moments and then answer the joy questions that we asked all of our guests all season long. I'm going to answer those today as well. It wouldn't be right for me to ask everyone else and never answer them myself, right? So let's get into it. So, as I was reflecting and going back and watching some of the episodes and seeing that there was this grouping of themes that I saw kept coming up, the first theme that emerged early and stayed with me all season was this idea that joy is not passive. It is not something that happens to you when life slows down, but that is something that you intentionally create for yourself. And really, as an act of resistance, is something you choose, you practice, and you protect. And so Dr. Pamela Larde set the tone in episode 2 when she introduced her multi-dimensional framework of joy. She literally is a joy researcher. Okay, that's who you start this type of season with. So this multi-dimensional framework of joy she shared with us was rooted in well-being, but really connected to community and then grounded in liberation. She said the joy was contagious and progressive, that it grows. It's contagious, y'all. And that really stayed with me because it helped me to think about, where am I sparking the contagion, right? Where am I starting the contagion in the spheres of influence that I'm in, right? How can I be the change, right? And then also consume the contagion from other people around me. And that really stayed with me. Then in episode 3, Dr. Minna Pratt took us on a deeper journey with her memoir, Black Wild Girl. And it's so powerful, Dr. Minna. She's gonna be with us at the conference too. But it was an excavation of 45 years of her journaling practice. Isn't that beautiful to even be able to sustain that for 45 years? And she talked about just the lessons she learned of revisiting herself as a girl, as a teenager, as a young woman, right? As a new mom when your children are much older now, right? And revisiting those journal prompts. And she really encouraged that honoring our stories is itself a joyful act, honoring our existence and what led up to the culmination of who we are today. She talked about reclaiming the bold, untamed spirit of girlhood that many systems try to stifle. And she told her personal story with that. And that is joy as a reclamation, right? Powerful, powerful, powerful. And then my girl, Dr. Lakila Bowden, came in episode 9 and challenged us to turn up our self-celebration. Yes, sis, toot your own horn, beep, beep, to brag more, to recognize ourselves, to stop withholding the recognition we freely give, generously give to others. And she talked about self-celebration not being extra, right? But essential and deeply joyful, right? The light bulb moment for me from that kind of theme of those episodes I was just sharing is that joy is not what we earn after the hard work. It's part of the work itself. When we reclaim our stories and honor ourselves, we are not taking a break from leadership. We are deepening it. And the research, Dr. Minna and her journals, Lakila and her self-celebration really amplified that for me. Now, the second theme is what I'm calling the identity reckoning. Okay. So many of our conversations this season circled around one central question: who are you really? beneath the title, beneath the role, beneath the performances. Who are you, right? Stripped down. Who are you? And my girl Suzette Yasmin Rabatham asked it most directly in episode 27. She said the attachment to being validated by a title is an insufficient measure of who we are in totality. I'm like, amen, corner girl, pass the collection, pass the collection plate. But our alums, our BWL alums in episode 8, Lakeisha, Jabina, Valerie answered the question too. And each described a moment of reckoning where they had to stop seeing themselves through other people's eyes and kind of reclaim their own vision of themselves. And I thought that was a really powerful moment too. Jabina said she had to ask, who am I? Not who does the world need me to be? And the world requires a lot from us, right? Wants us to put on a cape every day, every other day about something for our problems and other people's problems. But Jabina said, when I sit down and I have to ask, who am I, but not who the world needs me to be, that thing gives me chills just thinking about it, because that's a powerful question to ask yourself. And then Shaquana in episode 26 connected identity directly to executive presence. And I love that she unpacked that, because that's a buzz term now, executive presence, executive presence. She talked about real presence being built from the inside out, and that it starts first with self-trust, not with image or communication, but with self-trust. And that self-trust again goes back to identity, with knowing who you actually are. The light bulb moment from this kind of identity reckoning theme was that identity is not something you figure out once. It's iterative. As you learn and grow and have new life experiences, it's something that you return to, especially after seasons of loss, transition, or growth, and that you get to recreate for what you needed to be right now. And I loved that. Really, it felt accessible, right? It felt really accessible hearing them talk about our identity and reclaiming that in that way. Now, the entire season, okay, has been an invitation to keep coming back to yourself, to return home, baby, to return home to yourself. And that made me just feel so good about what we were putting out in the world. Now, another theme that showed up in different forms all season long was the relationship between Black women, our bodies, and that whole cultural narrative of the strong Black woman. Dr. Keisha Bentley Edwards said it plainly in episode 11. I just really loved talking to her and hearing about her research. She talked about resilience. We hear resilience, be resilient, right? But she talked about, if we really look at how resilience, as it is often framed for Black women in particular, it has a cost. It's an expectation that we will endure without structural support, without rest, without acknowledgement, as if we are machines. And that is not strength. It is a system that benefits from our depletion. And you have to go back and listen to that episode, because that was a masterclass. Because she wasn't just talking about from her opinion, baby. She was bringing the receipts from all different aspects, from healthcare, from education, from career development. She was bringing the proof of this requirement of Black women to absorb more and be okay without the support, and be okay without the reinforcements. And she was pushing back against that, like, nah, we're not gonna do that. Because I will never forget, in that episode, she talked about the common phrase of black don't crack, right? We say that. But she talked about, when you really look at some of the research, we don't look like what we've been through. But when you look at some of the health disparities, and she's out of the medical school at Duke, okay? So she got the research for the health. When you look at the health disparities, baby, we are cracking on the inside. We are very much so cracking on the inside, even though we woke up like this and look cute, right? And so she talked about that resilience and pushing back on that, because it has a cost. Now, resilience in and of itself is not bad. It's survival. It's the bouncing back after things knock you down. Her critique was that the call to us from the world, from the systems, and even sometimes from ourselves and our own community, the call for us to be more resilient comes without support. comes without resources. And that is not building the capacity of our resilience, it's building the capacity of our breakdown. And that was like a mic drop moment there. That expectation that we will endure without structural support, without rest, without acknowledgement, it ain't hitting, y'all. It's not hitting. Then Dr. Latoya Gaines came along in episode 7, expanded what self-care actually means. Again, not the bubble baths. That's nice. We love a good bath, a good massage. But she talked about rest, boundaries, emotional tending. Tending. Think about that. Think about the people you tend to emotionally, your children, your partner, your family, right? And that tending to yourself in that same way. She talked about identity work too and community. She said we can give ourselves permission to center our needs. Ooh, we can give ourselves permission to center our needs. That stands alone. And then Blessing Uchendu in episode 25 brought a dimension that I think was a nice added layer onto that conversation. She reminded us that burnout is not just a mindset problem, it is a body problem. And Blessing is a licensed clinical social worker, clinician, and a somatic coach. And she talked about how our nervous system and our body, baby, is keeping the score. That's what Dr. Keisha was talking about. We might look like we don't crack, but baby, on the inside, that health, them organs, that blood pressure is telling the story. Okay, it's telling the story. And so somatic work, really focused on the body, is one of the most powerful things a Black woman leader can do. And she connected not only for ourselves first, for our own health, for our own ability to restore harm, but that it directly affects how you show up with your team. She took it into the leadership dimension as well. And that was a really powerful connection. Definitely check out that episode 25, if you didn't get to do that this season. In episode 28, Pamela Jelly reminded us that balance requires us to soften, and that's okay, to be fully human, to not just be professionally resilient, but to be softened in other areas of our lives too. And then Dr. Nina Joy Minna in episode 12 reminded us that our devices, when we talk about digital detox, y'all, is that them devices being tied to these computers and this email is one of our biggest sources of depletion. And she helped us to think about how we can start to set some boundaries around that for ourselves. So this light bulb moment, right, and this theme of body, burnout, and a strong Black woman trope, for me was that we cannot lead well from empty. And this season, of course, gave us permission to put that strong Black woman cape down, baby, and to choose restoration, to choose paying attention to our bodies, to choose paying attention to ourselves and what we want and what we needed, as a way to not only care for ourselves, but also to strengthen our leadership. And that to choose joy is not as a reward for surviving, a treat because we made it through the obstacles, right? Or through the warfare, but as a right that we have always had. And that's really what we were trying to get at this season. Okay, I got another thing for us that emerged. Now, season 8 aired during one of the most turbulent career moments Black women have experienced in the last couple of years. We think about the layoffs, the anti-DEI, the AI continuing to grow and develop, right? And yet, episode after episode, our guests still showed up with both honesty and possibility when talking about what's happening for us in the career landscape in this season, even though it's looking bleak. It's looking bleak for some people out there. It's looking bleak. So Dr. Chinasa Eloy and Dr. Karma Hill, both two of our Black women leading coaches, they really opened up this conversation for us early on in the season in episode 4, naming the grief, the identity loss, and the burnout that can come with layoffs. Because there's, at the time of this, over 600,000 Black women have been laid off in less than the year before this time right now. And so they really unpacked that. Dr. Chinasa is a grief expert, right? Dr. Karma, a positive psychologist. And they talked about that there is some grief, some loss that comes with what's happening in the current career landscape that we need to pause and really sit with. And they were pointing toward community and building in small, meaningful practices for ourselves to help us recover. And that was the language we were using, because some of these layoffs have blindsided people and kind of financially stunted people. and even created a lot of anxiety for people who were really rooted in the identity of those positions, right? And so we spent some time with that, some intentional time to care for that in episode 4. And then Camila Martin in episode 5 reframed consulting as a gateway to liberation. So a lot of Black women are looking to rather entrepreneurship and picking up some type of skills based consulting to support them in this season, not as a fallback, but as a pathway forward. And Camila and the work that she's doing with her organization and supporting people to build out those consulting practices, she helped us to think about it not as just another stream of income, which we need, but also a gateway to liberation. I thought that was really powerful framing. Now, and keeping on with dealing with what's happening in the landscape with the layoffs and all of that, Kelly Jackson in episode 15 pushed us to do our own job searches strategically. And she gave us a real frame for how to do that if you are looking for work in this season. She said, when you recognize your value, you can walk into any market because it really is a skills market these days. It's not just about, the titles and the roles. It's about skills and being able to identify those transferable skills you have. A really nice moment on this was our BWL alum, Dr. Crystal Moten, in episode 20. She gave us the concept of professional wanderlust, which is a book she's writing now, and a way to reframe career mobility. You have a lot of people moving around jobs to either increase their salary or because they've been laid off, because the organizations they worked at were unstable. So they have a lot of maybe short stints in different places. And she gave us this term, this concept that she's working with, a professional wanderlust. And we know a wanderlust when we think about from travel, and we think about that positively, almost kind of sexy sometimes. Somebody who kind of has this very robust travel life, right? And she reframed career mobility not as instability, but as courage and self-determination, as a way of learning through having different workplace experiences. She named something that many Black women have felt shame about, and she turned it into a source of power, again, a reclamation. And I thought that was such a powerful framing, one I had not heard before around career mobility, or what some might call job hopping. And then, our episode 28, which I just did before this one as a solo episode, offered a framework for that intentional career reset, pausing because maybe you're assessing that something needs to shift, and taking a moment to regroup, restore, and realign. And that was a different episode. Wasn't so much me kind of just talking, but it was really me walking the listeners through a guided reflection. So check out episode 28 if that career reset language really resonates with you. You're in a season of pivot, or you're feeling the need to do something different and wondering kind of, where do I start? You start at that reflection point, which is what we did in episode 28. So the light bulb moment around this career navigation in a shifting world theme that emerged was that the pivot, the reset, the wandering, right? None of it is failure. It's all of it for such a time as this. When done with intention, it's leadership. It is you saying, I know what I bring, and I'm going to keep moving toward alignment for me so I can bring my best contribution. Now, the final theme I want to cover that wove itself through almost every conversation this season really was about connection. And again, shout out to my sister, Dr. Cree. May God bless her spirit. May she rest in peace forever. But that connection piece, connection and community and leading beyond yourself, that final theme of connection to self, to others, to something larger than your individual leadership journey. Again, Dr. Cree named it most precisely in episode 21 with talking about her book, The Missing Piece, PEACE. And the piece that comes when we stop running on hyperproductivity and start leading from genuine presence and connection with the people we're working with the teams that we're working with. Alizia Lee, who is the CEO of the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund, showed us what it looks like at the organizational level in episode 24, where she talked about this community-led leadership. I loved that, the Ubuntu leadership approach. Her Ubuntu approach to community-led leadership was about embedding community voice into every decision, removing some of those power dynamics, And she said it's what it looks like when a leader truly believes the collective is wiser than the individual, baby, that you don't know it all. You might be the boss, but you don't know it all. How do you tap into the collective? And the collective is not just the people right under you, it's the people you're serving. It's the people who are the stakeholders that you are doing the work for, if you will. They have something to say that's valuable, that's going to improve the outputs that we can create. And I loved her. She gave a master class in that. Definitely check out that episode 24, because she really laid out what they're doing at the Baltimore Children and Youth Forum in really a revolutionary and innovative way. But she laid it out in a way that it really can be translated to other organizational environments and other leaders. And I just thought it was just a powerful framework she shared with us. Now, in staying on this connection community, leading beyond yourself, Sarah Boyd of the Formation in episode 22 brought it to the personal level. While Alicia talked about it on an organizational level, Sarah talked about it on a personal level. And she really brought forth the concept of strategic self-advocacy, and that it's about knowing your value and advocating in ways that are both effective, that get the job done, help you to get your desired outcome, but also self-honoring. You're not abandoning yourself in the process. And then in episode 23, Dr. Cornelia Shipley Berryman reminding us, you will see what you say. Your words are powerful. And that casting your future through your mouth, through your mindset, through the words that you speak, is an act of connection to your own power. Powerful episode with her as well. Now, the light bulb moment from this theme on connection, community, and leading beyond yourself for me was that joy expands in connection. Dr. Pamela Larde told us that we are not built to lead alone, heal alone, or grow alone. Community is not a nice to have, it is essential infrastructure for sustainable leadership. Now, I want to do something I have been looking forward to all season. Every guest was asked questions about joy, what it means to them, how they practice it, how they reclaimed it. And I realized it would not be right to ask everyone else and never answer for myself. So here I am. These are my honest answers to the questions I ask our guests at the end of every season. Question 1: what is your definition of joy? And in this season of your life, what future are you casting that includes that definition for yourself? So, joy for me is the feeling of being fully present in a life that actually belongs to me, right? So, not the life that I should want, I was supposed to want, but the life that I have, right? Not the life that looks impressive to others, but the life that I have. And so, for me, I'm really trying to be present uh, in my life and have my life feel spacious and purposeful and real and connected to the people I love and the things that I love. I think for a long time, and I talked about this in an earlier season about conflating achievement with identity. That's some work that I had to do for myself, right? And that really being able to separate success from external markers, you know, the client, the contract, the money, the credential, those things matter. But really, in this season of my life, being able to sit in that joy happens when the inside matches the outside, right? And the future I'm casting right now includes more of that alignment, more leading from fullness rather than pressure, from enjoyment, from energy rather than from obligation, more building in the Black woman leading community in ways that feel sustainable, relevant for the current season that the people we serve are in, and deeply meaningful. And so, you know, I think about more mornings where I feel like I'm doing exactly what I was built to do. I feel like I think about the work that we're doing to build the team that will allow me to have more space to think and be creative. That feels joyful for me from a professional lens. So I'm excited for that. Question 2: what does leading with joy look like for you in this stage of your career? Now, I already started to get into that a little bit, but it looks like giving myself permission to slow down enough to enjoy what I've built. I'm an ambitious person. I go, go, go. And I'm really trying to slow down. Like, what's the point of doing all this work and building something that you're not present for when it happens, right? And I've been in the building season for a long time. You know, Knights Consulting is approaching 10 years this fall. Black Woman Leading is about to be 6 years old in August of 2026. And it started from one little spark of an idea on the back of an envelope that I wrote on an airplane. And it's become something that I could not have fully imagined it would be when it started. The community that we built, the way we've been able to serve Black women. And so sometimes when you're in the building phase, you forget to actually inhabit the building, baby, to live in the house that you were building, to inhabit what you have created. So leading with joy looks like being present with my clients, my community, my team, my family, myself, in a way that is not driven by urgency or scarcity for that matter. And it looks like making decisions from a grounded place and not from a fearful one. I told myself any decision that I make out of fear, I have to stop before I execute on that. If I feel myself deciding something because of fear, I told myself I'm not going to let myself go out like that. I'm going to revisit that. I'm going to sit with it before I move on that thing. And it looks like for me, modeling for the women I serve, that it's possible to build something significant, something legacy building without sacrificing yourself or the people you love or the things that you love in the process. All right, question 3. Joy can sometimes feel fleeting. What is bringing you joy in this season of your life, and what is one way you intentionally create space for that thing? So what is bringing me joy right now, honestly, is my community. If I think about Black Woman Leading, I could start with, right? And seeing and really building connections with the women that we serve. Our team, y'all, I love the Black Woman Leading team down, baby. I fight about them. Okay. I love them down, and not just because of the work that they do, for who they are as women. We have built friendships. We have built connections. We are rooting for each other. We have prayed for each other. And so when I think about the Black Woman Leading community, not only the people we serve, but the team that does the serving, wow, that's bringing me joy. Cultivating that, right? Cultivating that is bringing me joy. And if I think about sitting at the end of 28 episodes, just in this season and going into season 9 shortly, and knowing that these conversations have landed somewhere real for someone who needed them. And y'all send me the DMs to LinkedIn and Instagram. You email me and tell me stuff that resonated with you from the episode. Keep doing that, y'all. That is so affirming and encouraging. And it helps us to keep going. But that is joy. Also, as I think about community, I think about my friends. I have been really blessed to have friends that have been um, that I've been rocking with for the long haul. I think about my childhood girlfriends. We call ourselves the 4 L's forever because all of our names start with L. Lindsay, Lakeisha, Lee, and Laura. We have been friends from me and Lee met in, I call her Mina, but me and Lee met in kindergarten. Me and Lindsay, I feel like picked up in first grade. And then Lakeisha joined us in fifth grade. And y'all, we've been rocking ever since. You know, you 10 years old in fifth grade about. We in our mid 40s, and we have seen each other through every season of life. We got a girls weekend getaway coming up. We pray each other through things. We lament with each other in times of grief. And so just I'm looking forward to having more time and intentionality for continuing to cultivate those relationships. I think about friendships that I have made along the way. My girl Summer, who's on the Black Woman Leading team. I think about just all these different friendships that I have made along the way. That I'm still. I think about my St. Louis girls. We called the Tistas. We went to college together. Nikki, Breen, Kelly, Winnie. We've been friends since college, and that's been over 20 years, and we still rock for each other, right? So really taking time to intentionally make more space for time with my community, and that includes my family too. You know, my daughter is in this beautiful season going into her senior year of high school. We're doing college visits. You know, she figuring out what she want to do, and just watching that unfold brings me joy. Seeing my son, 10 years old, mature, seeing my husband, Marshall, the producer of this podcast too, my man. Okay. No, but seeing my husband, who I love, like living his creative dream as a producer and a musician. It's I just really want to lean more into that. That's bringing me joy. Connecting with my community in that way. And this work, right? When it's flowing, when the right client shows up, when the coaching hits, when one of our community members tells us something shifted for her, that's it. That's the thing I do this for. The way I intentionally create space for this is by protecting my space so that I can be kind of where I need to be. My schedule is crazy, but I try to take some time for my morning prayer, reflection, my stretching. I get on the floor in my room and do some stretching because that really helps me to kind of show up a little bit more presently. But even as I said, like time with my community, date night with the hubby, right? Planning those girls' weekends, even though we all over the country doing different things, is protecting the space and giving it the same honor as I give a business trip, right? Or the planning in advance for our conference we do every year. We plan that a year in advance. If our schedules are busy, why we can't put our girls' trip for next year on the calendar, right? And so just trying to be intentional in creating that space. And we all doing the best we can, y'all. So those are my answers to some of the season's theme questions. Before I let you go, I want to say thank you for being with us in this season. Thank you to every guest who trusted us with your wisdom, who thought enough of us to share your thought leadership on this platform, to align your brand with this platform, your brand that you've worked hard to create. I appreciate you, and I really do not count it lightly that you spent some time with us this season. Thank you so much. Dr. Pamela Larde, Dr. Minna Pratt, Dr. Chinasa, Dr. Karma, Camila, Dr. Latoya, Lakeisha, Jabina, Valerie, Dr. Keisha Bentley Edwards, Dr. Nina Joy, Minna, Alana Thomas, Dr. Sam March, Kelly Jackson, Dr. Brandeis Marshall, Pamela Jelly, Dr. Elizabeth Adams, Dr. Cree Scott, Sarah Boyd, Dr. Cornelia Shipley, Berryman, Elisa Lee, Blessing Uchendu, Shaquana Chappelle, and Suzette Yasmin Rabat. Baby, y'all did y'all thing this season. I am grateful for you. Every single one of these women showed up and showed out, gave us something real, and I'm deeply grateful. And to you, the listener, thank you for leaning into joy with us this season, for pressing play when you needed someone to speak to what you were carrying, for sharing episodes with the women in your life who needed to hear them, and for doing your own work to contribute to the world. Listen, joy is not waiting for you somewhere down the road. It's available to you right now in the pause, in the practice, and in the decision to stop running on empty and to start leading from fullness. Remember, a reset is not a failure. Slowing down is not falling behind. Reclaiming your body, your story, your boundaries, your voice, your identity is the bravest, most strategic leadership thing you can do. You are not just a leader, you are a Black woman leading. And our community is here for every season of the journey as well. So, y'all, season 9 is coming. I want to give you a little taste of where we're headed. If season 8 was about leaning into joy, then season 9 is about what we build from that place of wholeness. And season 9 is going to explore relationships, the full ecosystem of relationships that either support us or drain us. Hello, with ourselves, relationships with ourselves, our teams, our communities, our personal support systems, and the people who really help to make our leadership sustainable. And here's the frame that we're doing for season 9 coming up. How do we cultivate relationships that are authentic and that do not require us to decenter our own experience, abandon our own values, or shrink ourselves to be in that relationship? Okay? Because real relationships start with a grounded, boundaried, fully present you. And we can't wait. We already planning for season 9. It's really going to be something special. So y'all hang around, and while you're waiting for those new episodes, check out some of the ones I mentioned in this episode that you may have missed. Until then, keep leaning into joy, keep leading with intention, and taking good care of yourself. Share this episode with all of your contacts, your network, your community. We are on all podcast streaming platforms. Make sure you follow us, subscribe, all the things. We're on YouTube as well. Rate and leave us a comment, y'all. Help us to amplify this work that we're doing. Now, if you want to connect with us at Black Woman Leading on socials, we are at Black Woman Leading. Woman is singular. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, if you want to connect with me personally, I'm Laura E. Nice, most active on LinkedIn. So check me out, connect over there. But I'm also active at Laura E. Nice on Instagram as well. If you want to learn about the work we do inside of organizations to build stronger leaders and healthier teams, check out our corporate site at niceconsultinggroup.com. We would love to connect with you in any of these ways. And until next time, be well, y'all.
Black woman.